I'm Sally Darlison, and I am a multidisciplinary artist. So that means I can do anything really, but I really have a focus on textile and collage and stitched collage. So that means I use paper, fabric, machine embroidery, bit of hand embroidery, print, and I use photographs.
Fantastic. I just want to tell the listeners that actually you're my sister. You're my big sister. And it's been so lovely to kind of watch you, from my childhood, really. You've always been creative. We grew up in quite a creative household. And, my early memories of you being creative were things like you're writing letters to your friends and like making puzzles out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had one particular friend I did that with.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what your creative routine is now.
Well, now I try to turn up every day in the studio, except the days I have committed things on. And if I don't turn up, I try and do something else that's related. So I treat it like a job, really, because I quit my job in order to be able to do this. So that's the focus. And it depends on the stage of whatever I'm doing. I'm usually working towards a collection of work. So sometimes, unfortunately, it means sitting on the computer, categorizing, putting things in spreadsheets. And other times applying for things. But when I'm making things, I tend to be pretty focused. I generally do the preparation work, so the sketching, the writing, the thinking, and sometimes set that in motion and then do it's like preparing the papers, preparing the silk, whatever else I'm doing, thinking about the print blocks I might make for the work. And then, so the routine does change day to day. That's really, it depends on the stage of the work I'm doing.
I know it was a big thing to decide to leave teaching to pursue this as a kind of a full-time career. How has that changed for your creative work?
Oh, I make more. But then I have to try and figure out how to get rid of it. But I do. I have a lot more time to make work, and when I get going, I can be quite prolific. So that's sometimes good. I mean, mostly good, but sometimes can be like, oh, I've got a lot now. What I'm doing with it.
And do you still combine your teaching expertise with your art?
Yeah, so I still do some teaching. I'm now not a registered teacher, so I can't do it in schools in the same way. But I do workshops, and I've done artists in schools over the years, and I've started doing some of them again. And I'm teaching like at the Embroiderers Guild this coming year. But it just depends. I found it takes a lot of work to create work for teaching. So I've tried to pare that back, basically, so I can make work but do some teaching, because I do actually love teaching. I love the act of it. I find it actually quite creative, but it takes up a chunk of time. So if the focus is to create artwork, that's probably the primary focus for my work.
I want to know a little bit about your process. So where does the idea come from? And, when you've got that idea, then how does that end up being, say, something like that beautiful piece of art behind you?
Okay, so my work overall is about place. So it's the overarching thing and how we respond and connect to place. But each body of work is a specific sort of more narrow theme relating to that overarching theme of place. So the work, for instance, this one was in response to a particular place, and what do I see within that I want, that jumps out at me. So I did a series called Remote a year and a half ago, and that was all about 3 very remote places, but they're quite distinctly different. So when I was in those different places, I was looking at, plant life and landscape and transport within those places. But then I had to narrow it down, I had to pare it back, and then I wanted to put it all together in one show. And there were 3 very different places. So what was that connecting theme? And that was remoteness, the fact that they were very distant places from civilization in many ways. And so then I had to then figure out how I was going to make the work that would tell that story of being in remote. And what is that? And what does that mean? My new upcoming series will be about food and hospitality. Now, that doesn't seem to be about place much, but actually the big picture for me is my table and how do I welcome and what does that actually mean? So it's about welcoming people to a table, but that includes vegetables, and I grow vegetables, so then it's about my veggie garden, and about the place I was in when I started working a lot on that.
I love that. I'm smiling. You can't see me smiling. I'm behind the camera because I know we grew up with that very welcoming table, yes. And I know all of us have kind of continued that ethos.
Yeah, really. And interestingly, I think that's a big influencer, obviously, in the way I think about that. But it is something that I consciously, actively try and pursue, like we are. Well, the rest of us do in our family.
I know that a lot of your work has maps and plant life in it. I'm wanting to know a little bit about your, what inspires you for your creativity. Is it just map work? Is it plant life? Is it so much more than that?
Yeah, it's more than that. I mean, obviously, I love maps, and there's lots of reasons I love maps. They've got beautiful patterns on them, for a start, but they're part of, once again, the history. Our dad loved bushwalking and camping, and he taught me to read a map. So for me, that's a connector. But also, I ended up with a lot of old maps, so that's another thing. But I love geography, and I love the look of maps, and maps help me figure out where I am. I like to read a map. I'm always looking at Google Maps now, and I have it always set on satellite because I love the pattern and the imagery. I think for me, the other thing is the plant life. Once again, Mum loved plants, but I have always gardened, and I love gardening. And I think because plant life, it's about place, because plants grow in specific places. And I like to garden, and I like the colour. That's really, and they're all sort of bound together in this whole thing about place. And of course, maps, they are about a place. So, yeah.
So if you think about your creative inspiration, who, what, or where is your greatest inspiration?
Wow.
Or it can be multiple.
Yeah. I don't think I was one. I think for me, inspiration comes because I love to look. And when I studied art, I realized that's actually what it's all about. It's about looking and finding the detail. And I do think, we've been given a good background because our mum was made us aware, even if we thought it was boring. But it helped sort of underpin that thinking about looking. And I think for me, that's the main thing about being an artist, is about looking and looking carefully. But of course, each artist shows that in different ways. And mine's not overly realistic. I do have some elements of realism in my work, but I don't feel like I'm a realist. I'm trying to connect with that sense of place, with that, how do I express that in a way that tells a story? I like to tell stories.
Yeah. And you tell stories beautifully through your art. I know the recent, was it last year, the remote exhibition was just a beautiful story through all of those remote places.
Yeah.
A question that just popped up for me is because in storytelling, we often talk about, what is the question that the writer is trying to answer in their story. If I was to ask you that question about what is the question your art is trying to answer?
How do you see the world? How do you see place? What's important to you? I guess for me, I'm trying to show you what I find important. I'd say most artists are trying to tell you something important. But, everyone will perhaps see a different element of what they see that I think is important. But in the end, I have to be confident that what I tell is what I feel is important, and hope that everybody else kind of gets it.
Yeah, thank you. If you were to be talking to someone who, maybe they're struggling with getting back into their creativity, or they're early on, what would be a piece of wisdom that you would want to pass on to them? A pearl or pearls?
I've always felt that, one, we're all creative. I feel that because it's sort of embedded in my belief system that we are made we're made to be creative. But I also think that you need to show up. You just need to do it. And whenever I've taught adults particularly, and they're struggling to start, I just say, just start. It doesn't have to be the best. Just get going. And I would say that even I have to remind myself too, because there are times when I'm a bit frozen into how do I get going on this idea I've got. Just get going. And then if it's no good, or you don't like it, or it's not part of your thing, doesn't matter. It can go in the drawer, or sometimes in the bin. It's all right.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a piece of wisdom that I have heard from so many creatives, and I think it's because it is so true. What holds us back is that getting started, so we just have to get started. And lastly, what is home to you?
Now, I've been thinking about that. Home is my family. Home is where I can sit and converse with people, I guess, and where I'm comfortable. I've always made a home, in my house, I guess. And what does that mean? It means perhaps familiar things, but also mainly it's the people, and people around the table, people having coffee or eating together. Maybe plants as well in my home.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because that's the body of work that you have been working on.
Well, I think essentially that's what I'm always working on. Place. Where am I at home? I'm at home in lots of places. The bush. I'm very at home in the bush. But I'm home where my husband is, and my children come, and my grandkids come. That's home.
Thank you so much for your time, Sally.
Pleasure.
You can find Sally's work on sallydarlison.com.